if we get into the actual kidney itself, and of course this right here, this is the ureter, and we're going to see that in just a second. I'm hoping we can use our nice tool here. It might work in such a way that we can, that may not actually work. That way's not going to work. Let's do it the long way, like this. Let's see how that works. It's really not working all that well either. So we can see the renal pyramids in there. I'm going to do the specific cut. That's this not working. See, cancel that. I'm going to turn it. If we cut it just right, you can actually see inside of the kidney pretty well. So we're going to try to do that. And then you can actually see the renal papilla, the renal medulla, the pyramid, the column, all that fun stuff. It's kind of creepy looking right there, right? It's crazy. I guess that's the rest of the ureter for the male, right? It's, you know, through the penis and things like that. But without that, it actually looks even creepier.
Wouldn't that be the urethra, not the ureter?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say ureter? Yeah, you guys cannot let me slip by with anything. Because then you put it on your test and it'll be like, well, that's not what it is. Okay, so here we can see the structures pretty well. We can see right here, that's the renal cortex. Now technically all of this stuff in through here would be the medulla, but I'm not going to ask you the medulla on your test, okay? I'm going to ask you the specific structures of the medulla. So if I were to tag it here, we can see that we have the renal pyramid. If we tag in between those two right there, we can see a renal column. Let me see if we can move this just a little bit. So separating the pyramid from pyramid is the renal column. And then we can see that nice kind of like tip right at the very tip, that tip, that tip. I'm gonna put the pin right here though, or let's put it right here. But remember, you can see that color where it sort of changes. At the tip is the renal papilla. Let's put that through there. Right through there. All right, and then each one of those renal papillae do what? They drain into a minor calyx. And then when we can see like a couple of these guys coming together, and we could even argue that maybe this is 1, 2, and a third one. So we could even argue that this is the major calyx itself. You want to argue that? We could argue it. I don't mind. So we'll say that that's the major calyx because we can see where one opening is. There's another opening right through there, so that has to be a major calyx. And then remember that where it actually comes all together, but before it's really the ureter itself, is the renal pelvis. So where they all drain together is the renal pelvis. So again, number one here is that cortex. And remember, the cortex wraps all the way around. So it's not just that one spot. Renal pyramid, there's a pyramid, there's one, there's another one, there's another one. We can see the renal column, but remember, anywhere we see a separation between the renal pyramids, that's where we see those renal columns. There's another one right through there. At the very tip of the renal pyramid here in white, we can see the renal papillae. Now, normally that's how I like to tag it too, is like where it kind of changes color to like the white structure. That way there's like no question. It's a very different appearance and it's easier to understand what it is. Here you can see number 5 is this minor calyx. We can see number 6 right through here is the major calyx. And then we can see the renal pelvis here. And then we can see the ureter. So the kidney itself, I typically, like anytime I tag the kidney, I feel like I'm giving you answers. Like, how could you miss this, right? Okay, so make sure you can identify this on the model and then make sure you can identify it here. All I did to get to there was I went to this tool and then I went to this one to be able to make a cut. And then I was able to just use the tapping touch and get rid of the other stuff. Everybody okay with the kidney?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we see what happens? Because I still see those digestive arteries are still there. That's nice. So let's add this one. It's 16, 25. We'll do 5. Okay. So we got all the kidney. The next thing we want to do is we want to look at the lumbar muscles and those nerves. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and pull up the pelvis, just because I already had pulled up a pelvis just a second ago, so that we could see the stuff in there. So as we look through here, we can see pretty clearly the coccyx. We can see part of the anterior longitudinal ligament, right? That's what this is right here on the top. We can also see that sacrospinous ligament right here to the side. And these are things that aren't on our list, but they're things that we should know, right? We have our sacral tuberous ligament. So those are just good things to know that are in there. Now let's go down and let's add the muscles. I'm going to go to the muscles of the pelvic floor, and I'm just going to tag all of them. I want to also find our piriformis as well too. Let's go ahead and let's do this muscle, and we'll find the other ones in just a second. So the first thing I can do is I can get rid of maybe this anterior longitudinal ligament, and maybe we can see just a little bit better where we have the coccyx. It doesn't really help a lot. So why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and try to get just the coccyx, and let's try to color it and see if maybe that helps us a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we see this very first muscle here at the very top. That's only associated with the coccyx itself, and that is the coccygeus muscle. Okay, so we can color it, we can tag it. It's nice. I like it. The next muscle that's down from there is the iliococcygeus muscle. So iliococcygeus muscle. Now, as we get down to the rest of our levator ani muscles, we can see that one of these muscle fibers are actually going all the way back to the coccyx, from the pubic bone to the coccyx. So that one right through there is the pubococcygeus muscle. Now we can see there's really one more muscle that's left here that's surrounding where the rectum would be, and that's the puborectalis muscle. I don't know why this tag is right here. I guess because it's still part of the levator ani muscle groups, but that's really here in yellow. So the puborectalis is right there, and we have it colored in that yellow color, so don't let that trick you.
Did the puborectalis actually wrap around
The anus. It wraps around the anus.
Yeah, I think that's why it's tagged like that. Because it wraps around.
Oh yeah, it goes from the backside. It does do that. Yeah. So good. So nice to have extra teachers. I love it.
Yeah, do we get extra credit for that?
Totally don't.
Give me the one time.
All right. So what we want to see here is this right through there. You see this structure right through there? That's where our obturator muscle would be. The obturator internus would be sitting right on top of that. For some reason, this keyboard doesn't want to come up. But let me see if I can find that tendinous arch. I don't think that's going to pull it out. Well, you know what? I'll just put it all there. That's easy enough. And now I can. Okay, so let's get rid of these other layers. We don't need these. All right, now as we look right through here, now we can see a membrane that's covering over a muscle. So we want to get rid of that membrane, and as we do that, it reveals that muscle that's underneath, and we can see that obturator internus muscle. Now remember that obturator internus muscle, that long tendon, was what we saw, and it came all the way back through here. We get rid of the glute through there. Remember the long tendon? You said the gem right here, superior gemellus, obturator internus, inferior gemellus, quadratus, femoris. So if you remember those from musculoskeletal, if you don't, shame on you.
PTSD there.
No PT. Now that line separating right through there is that tendinous arch. Okay, so we can see that little tendinous arch that's separating out some of the puborectalis muscle and that obturator internus. And if we look just above all of this, we see this guy. And that's our piriformis muscle. Okay. So the piriformis muscle is a good muscle to use as sort of a landmark. And then you kind of get into the pelvic floor muscles. So technically, even though we're covering the piriformis muscle right now, it's not really part of the pelvic floor. These other muscles are, okay? Any questions about those muscles of the pelvic floor?
Could you show the tendinous arch again?
Yeah, absolutely. So you see this line right through here? That line right through there that is separating out the obturator internus.
Okay.
And then this muscle right through there, which is our iliococcygeus muscle, right through there. All right. Now we can see a couple of other muscles that we wanted to see too, right? We can see that psoas major. We notice that there's no psoas minor, right? Remember we said that was a normal anatomical variant. It may have it, may not. Okay. Then we can see it joining together with that iliacus muscle. And we're going to see those in another dissection in just a minute. So why don't we go ahead and let's save this one. 16, 25, 6. See where the other ones go. And we can see it. And now I want to see those muscles that we wanted to look at, and I also want to see those nerves as well too. So let's go ahead and let's put our skeleton back here. Let's go ahead and let's add some of our muscles back there as well too. And then let's go ahead and put it back in anatomical position so it stops kind of freaking us out. Okay, all right, so let's get rid of the stuff we don't need. Don't need. We do need, but we don't need. Okay, so we can see right through here, psoas major. And we see that the psoas major in this situation does not have a minor on top of it. It just has the major. We can see it fusing together with that iliacus muscle, which is in the iliac fossa. All right, and then just beside the psoas muscle, we can also see that quadratus lumborum. Nice, pretty quadratus lumborum. Now, the big muscle that we see over the top here is the diaphragm. All right, so we got the roof of all that is our diaphragm. See what that looks like. Now, remember we said that there were a medial and a lateral arcuate ligament. The medial arcuate ligament is going to be right here where we have the number 1. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Trying to get that off. It's going to be right here, right where we see the psoas muscle. So the medial arcuate ligament is going to be right over the top of the psoas muscle. And then a little more lateral, where we see the quadratus lumborum, is where we're going to see the lateral arcuate ligament. Let's see, can we get that? It doesn't want to tag that for some reason. So that's it off of that one. Try it one more time. There we go. That's a little better. I don't really love where that's tagged because it's really like the line right through there. And we would see it, you know, more of there, like on that, but even that's not exactly on it. So the other muscle that we saw in that area was that transverse abdominis muscle, right? We had to get rid of that so that we could get deep enough to see some of these other ones. So if we go back here and we do like undo, we have to kind of turn this in and then we can see it. So if we tag it like right through there, we can see how the transversus abdominis muscle is associated with the other structures as well too. Wrapping all the way around. Everybody okay with the muscles? Muscles are pretty straightforward. If you miss the muscles, I don't know what to say to you. I really don't. You really got to get it together. Or maybe a life change. Maybe this isn't for you. They make a lot of money in bartending, man. Real estate, it's a hard market right now. Unfortunately, we got to kind of build this. I'm going to get rid of everything that hopefully we don't need, but it's still going to be a little messy. So let me try to get rid of as much as we don't need. Now, one thing that we don't see right through here is we don't see the subcostal nerve. Remember, that would be up a little higher and passing through there. So the first thing that we really see is right here is the iliohypogastric nerve. Should let Luke do this part.
Yeah, get after it. Now the pressure's
You
on.
lost your touch.
The pressure is on.
There we go.
Don't worry, I'll get there for you.
So iliohypogastric. Next guy down. Next one down is the ilio. Now you know what it is. Tell me what it is before he pulls it up. All right. So ilioinguinal. So remember on the anatomage table, one of the nice things is that the ilioinguinal nerve goes in the canal, right? So that one's pretty easy to figure out, and it's not too troubling to figure out. The lateral femoral cutaneous, you're the only thing there. I feel more pressure than you do, Luke. Like I'm actually getting paid to do this.
Let me get you going here.
Hey, listen, I did it on the third try. It took me 10 and I gave up. The lovely thing about the lateral femoral cutaneous nerve is that you can't miss it. There's no way. It's up under the anterior superior iliac spine. It's going to the lateral aspect of the thigh. It's like, get it together, man. Okay, lateral femoral cutaneous nerve. You got it. If we tag that and you miss it, don't ask me for a recommendation a little down the road. I'm just joking. I'm so joking, right?
Right. Your explanation of it sounds like your inner monologue when you were going through it. Like, how did you miss this?
That's true. Actually, I'm normally just trying to get it done. Like, so I normally don't actually think anything like that whatsoever. Except for that first time when we went off of online learning and we went back to on campus and we were doing the fill in the blank test. Yeah, that one, yeah. No, we actually don't need the booty nerve. Cluneal nerve. You guys remember George Clooney, right? He was like the sexiest man alive, right? Great butt. Okay? The Clooney nerves, they essentially go on your butt. Okay, so you find the Clooney nerves all around the butt. George Clooney, great butt. I mean, I'm a guy, but I can appreciate it. It's cool. You learned something today. All right, let's see. We managed to get, there we go. There's the genital branch, the actual genitofemoral. So here's the thing, remember with the genitofemoral nerve, it starts together. And then remember it's going to give us those two different branches. So, sorry, just trying to move that. Sorry, Sam.
Oh, you're good.
These guys come together and then it splits. What muscle is it sitting on top of? Psoas. Okay, so typically on test day, I'll normally leave the psoas there so that you can see it. Sometimes it's obscuring because it passes through the psoas, and then it sometimes will even split before it even gets through the psoas and turn into the genital and femoral. So sometimes I don't. It just depends on which model I bring up.
Which one sits on the psoas?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can't easily add the psoas, but let's see.
Got it.
Which one sits on the psoas?
The genitofemoral nerve. So you can see just a little bit of that genitofemoral nerve before, so like as it comes out, you can only see this one small part. Then we can see the femoral branch, and on the actual cadaver, it's easier to see it's going in the femoral area. And then this genital branch, obviously, is going to go through the canal as well, and then it's going to drop down here into the scrotum, right? So I'm not going to spend too much time trying to get it. Now I really want to. That actually felt appropriate. So these nerves, those are those. Now the next guy that's kind of large and right really up under where we went to see the psoas, here is that femoral nerve. Jeez. I'm having like an off day.
There's always next quarter.
There's always next quarter. You know, and for me, it's consequence free.
Can't write a recommendation for yourself.
You know, you'd be surprised. I think you can. Actually. You just have to make sure you put a different name on it.
No one checks, right?
I wonder if they're related. And then they go about their day. Femoral nerve. Okay, so femoral nerve is passing up under the psoas muscle, obviously going down through there. We said that other nerve, though, had the same common origin. So we see L2, 3, 4. If we tap on that femoral nerve, we're going to see that the femoral nerve has the same thing, L2, L3, L4. Remember the big difference was that we could see the obturator nerve, see that? Going into the obturator foramen. So here when we're looking at the cadaver, the size really isn't as significantly different as what it was when we were looking on the actual models. That made a pretty big difference. Here it doesn't do that. So the big clue is number one is going under the inguinal ligament, and the other one's actually going into the obturator foramen. Now using that as our landmark, right, for L4, we could also look and find L5. So if this is L4 right there, then that would mean this is L5 right here. And where these two nerves come together, and I'm sorry we can't isolate it out, but that's where we would see the lumbosacral trunk. And honestly, when it's not clear, I won't tag it like that on the anatomage table. I'll use the model for that. So you have all these nerves through here, and you know them all because you saw them. So a couple will probably show up on your test. Okay, so make sure you're comfortable with these, and make sure you can identify those. Now I want to say that's it. Was there something else that we talked about? So you see how it's right in the circle? That's the actual ganglia itself. If you wanted to, you could just call it thoracic ganglia. If you wanted to call it the sympathetic chain ganglia, that's okay too. The plexus would actually be the nerves that are coming off through there. Now the other ones that we were talking about were that celiac ganglia and plexus, superior mesenteric ganglia and plexus, and the inferior mesenteric ganglia and plexus. And we already saw those, right? And those are actually still, I think, saved even on the, it's going again.
Today's not your day.
It's not.
Someone else said, you know, there's always next quarter. I was kidding, right?
Listen, those, I imagine those beeps on my phone are to tell me like my guinea pig is dead or something, like, you know, like it's the way it's going, you know?
Oh, please don't remember what I said. Okay?
Does anybody have any questions about anything we've seen today?
Cool.
My mental well-being, do you have questions about that?
I think you
Maybe.
One is the thoracic plexus. Two is the subcostal, because it's under the rib. Three is the iliohypogastric. Four is the
Follow where it travels. Ilioinguinal.
ilioinguinal. Five is the lateral femoral cutaneous. Six is the genitofemoral. Seven is the, where did that go? That's your,
Sorry, the pin had moved.
Yeah.
that's your,
Should be on the femoral.
Yeah.
that's your femoral, right? Seven's femoral.
Yeah, it's following this one.
Okay, sweet. And then 8 is the
Should be the
Look
obturator.
at where it's going.
obturator nerve. 9 is the last, and that's the lumbosacral trunk.
Yes, sir.
1's diaphragm. 2 is the psoas,
Which one?
major, no minor. 3 is the iliacus. 4 is the quadratus lumborum, yeah, because it's a lumbar, yep. And 5 is the,
I'm capped too, but I spend this one.
sure, piriformis. Cable hiatus, esophageal hiatus, aortic hiatus. 1, coccygeus. 2, iliococcygeus. 3, obturator
Which one?
internus. 4, pubococcygeus.
You had it.
Pubococcygeus
5.
is the puborectalis. 6 is the tendinous arch. And 7 is the piriformis that goes all the way around. Okay. renal cortex, renal medulla,
So that would be all of this structure through here on the inside.
renal pyramids, renal columns, renal papilla, major calyx, minor calyx, renal pelvis, hilum, ureter, renal A and V. Oh, renal arteries and veins. Yeah. Perfect. Sweet. This is the adrenal gland.
Yep.
That's cool. Also the posterior abdominal wall. Cool.
All right.
So psoas major.
So as major, all that in the dark red.
Psoas minor.
Little guy on top.
Quadratus lumborum.
Okay. All of this through here.
Transverse abdominis.
All of this on the side here.
Iliacus.
Okay. Iliacus and the iliac fossa.
Diaphragm.
Okay. So all of this.
Gotcha. Let's see. Central tendon.
And all of this.
Okay. Perfect. Caval hiatus.
So caval hiatus is that first opening here.
Okay. Caval hiatus. Perfect. Esophageal hiatus.
So the second in the middle.
Aortic hiatus.
It's the one that is the most posterior. And if you put it in the model, you can see right where the aorta would be, right there.
Excellent. Right and left medial arcuate ligament.
Okay, so that would be right here above the psoas major and minor.
So that is,
The medial?
yes sir, right and left. Okay, this is on the right, right?
Yeah, so this would be our right medial arcuate ligament.
Perfect. Here a little bit.
Can you see that okay? Like right in there.
Got it. Okay. Lateral arcuate.
So covering right over the quadratus lumborum. We can see a line right there. So that is it right there.
Perfect. Nerves of posterior abdominal wall. Let's start with subcostal.
Okay, right here.
Okay. Iliohypogastric.
All right. Right here.
Ilioinguinal.
Just below it.
Lateral femoral cutaneous.
Right here.
Femoral.
Here.
Genitofemoral.
Right on top of our psoas muscle.
Okay. Where were we? Genitofemoral. Obturator.
Okay, right here.
Got it. Lumbosacral trunk. L4 and 5.
So L4.
Yep.
L5.
Boom.
Right here.
Excellent. Nerve structures, lumbar sympathetic chain ganglia plexus.
So we can see those right here. Right through there.
Oh, neat. Okay. Celiac ganglia plexus.
So those we saw on the anatomized table last week, and we won't actually see those on the model
Okay.
for the celiac superior or inferior mesenteric ganglia or plexus.
Gotcha. So onto the pelvis. Let's do piriformis muscle.
So if we start inside, we can see it from the internal right here. And note that it's in 3 different branches here, but it's all just the piriformis, so it's all just one muscle.
Gotcha.
If we look at it from behind,
Yep.
we can see it right here. Piriformis.
Perfect. Pelvic diaphragm.
So collectively, this is going to be the pelvic diaphragm or pelvic floor muscles.
Okay. Levator ani muscles.
So the levator ani muscles is going to be a collection of these groups of muscles right through here, but we're going to name them individually.
Got it. We would start with the puborectalis.
So puborectalis is going to be here where we see the dotted line,
Okay.
and that dotted line goes around the rectum.
Mm-hmm.
That is the puborectalis.
Pubococcygeus.
So the pubococcygeus is going to go all the way back, and we're going to follow those muscle fibers to where we would see the coccyx, which would be right here.
Gotcha. Iliococcygeus.
The iliococcygeus muscle is right here.
Gotcha. Tendinous arch.
So the tendinous arch, we're going to have to look at this model to see. And if we look at this little separation between this muscle here, this is the obturator internus, can you see that? And then this muscle right through here, which is the iliococcygeus, that little tendinous line right through there, that is the tendinous arch.
Okay. Perfect. Coccygeus muscle.
So coccygeus is only going to associate with the coccyx itself right here. So this is the coccygeus.
Perfect. And obturator internus.
So here, go back to this model again, and we can see it right there.
Got it. And lumbosacral trunk.
So we saw that a little bit earlier when we were looking right through there on this model, where we saw L4 and L5 joined together, right there.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, man.